So today we're here with Adam Farfan, and today is going to be the Ask Nick Kho show. So nice. Let's fire off some questions, bro.
All right, so for yourself, what are some of the things that you feel like was the most crucial part of your business throughout the last few years?
The people who work for me, number one, Owen especially as a partner, but also having the team of people that are the creative people, the instructors who are kicking ass, continually generating content. What we're doing now that's different than we've done in the past is we're also making more remote products as opposed to having to fly to 270 cities and rely on those programs. Now that we're launching new programs every single month online, that revenue boost allows us to have cool budgets for cool videos, travel, get better quality cameras, better teams, and grow a lot faster.
What do you feel like, there's a lot of businesses out there that really are not online right now. And one of the things that I believe with my company is the fact that if you're not online, you don't exist at all. What suggestion would you give people that are barely starting on their social media? I mean, you've been able to go ahead and grow your social media to a lot of followers in just a matter of just few days, few short weeks. Granted, you already have a good following, but what would you suggest to a brand new person that started their social media?
Awesome, entertaining content. If you look at the shows like RSD Tyler on YouTube, content there is the best. Same with RSD Free Tour. Super awesome content. Our other instructors like Max and other people are making awesome content as well. But it's entertaining. They have stories, they have plot lines. It's kind of like they have not just impromptu kind of style, just talking. It's kind of like that, plus having a scripted idea in their head, what looks awesome.
Right. Okay, cool. And what would you say that right now, if there was one business to invest your money in, what would that be?
I think the business that I always invest in is myself. I don't really invest in anything else. Other people will invest in those things that they're really passionate about. So I have friends who invest in technology because they're really loving technology. On the other hand, I have friends who have invested in theatrical productions. So I think it's following your passion. So I mean, you could study the market and trade and invest in just for the sake of money. That's not something that I specialize in right now. I used to be a registered financial advisor. That's just not my thing anymore.
Now, one of the things that we have a lot of friends that became multimillionaires that actually haven't gone to school at all ever. Now, right now you're going to Harvard, and let me ask you two questions from that. The first question is, what would you suggest people go to school to right now? I heard that one of the highest paid professions that you could go to right now later is going to be like becoming an ear surgeon or something. That's what I heard. Also, and do you believe that education will help you make more money?
Yeah, I mean, ear surgeon just definitely isn't something I've ever considered, but when you specialize in science, then you could innovate in very cool ways. I mean, when I was first studying college, it was not in business. I think business is now the best thing that you could spend your time on in terms of being able to build a business, the communication skills, the networking skills, the public speaking skills, all that is awesome. That's why I think business school is great. However, focusing on those things that are science-based, like when I first started, my focus on education was in computer science. Now we have a company that's on the internet using a lot of the skills that I learned. I was able to manage teams of people. You don't have to be an expert. Once you know business, you could kind of hire the right people for science, but if you actually know a lot of it, you could innovate a lot faster, or at least guide the innovation process as opposed to relying on someone else.
Got it. If there's one thing that, let me ask you this question, and I think a lot of people probably want to know this. What would you tell yourself? What would you tell Nick Kho? What would you tell 20-year-old Nick Kho?
So when I look back on my life, I think about those parts of my life where I could have expedited the amount of time and money I've spent on various things. And I always look at it from the standpoint of everyone else, from the standpoint of, hey, maybe I could have invested in this earlier, made more money, or maybe I should have invested in these other kinds of people and life experiences because they did all these awesome things, and I shouldn't waste my time on these people. But it's the learning lessons of going through the tough stuff and making those mistakes that allows you to know what is right and wrong. And someone telling you what's right and wrong doesn't usually get you to where you want to go. You have to learn it yourself, or else you won't be prepared for the future.
Got it. Now let me ask you one last question. If right now, people ask me this all the time. They're like, if you were to go to a brand new country, all you need is your cell phone and your credit card, and I think you control the world. If you could go, what are some, you have a different belief system sometimes than a lot of people. If you were, if you had a survival kit, what would the survival kit have?
Well, if I'm going to a brand new country,
Okay.
I know I can make money from the internet. Okay. There's way too many ways to do so. So I'd have to have a device that could get me on the internet.
So like a Wi-Fi spot.
I'd have to have clothes, or else I'm just going to be weirdo, just walking around like Burning Man. I would want to have some kind of a bank account or a debit card, but I could also establish that when I get there. I could have some kind of way of getting money and currency. Other than that, I could build a network within a community pretty fast, a social circle. I could build business connections. I could talk to people. I could find cool businesses I could either work for or create myself. I think a lot of it has just gone through the practice of having done that myself many times. Repetition of getting jobs under people,
Right.
or building business lines for my own company online, or helping my wife, or helping my friends. And I think that a lot of that has contributed to a situation where I know that if I was going to, say, move to Germany, Australia, or even Mexico, I know that there's ways I can make money and survive through creating companies. But I also know that from the education I have, I know that I could get a job with an outstanding company if I really want to as well. I think a lot of people will confuse what they want in terms of creating a company as the only way they could really make wealth. But if you work with the right team, I think you could make just as much, if not more. I mean, if I'm looking at this app called Charity Buzz, and on that, most of the people there that are celebrities that people could bid on to meet are not entrepreneurs. Most of them are people that have worked for their organizations and have had success. I mean, the most powerful person on there is the CEO of Apple. He didn't found Apple, he was an entrepreneur, but he worked within an organization, made it outstanding. I think the most important part, though, is just having the right education. So if you can get access to the right education, whether it's online or with the right mentors and coaches, or whether it's just the online books and resources, and you combine them all together. I prefer all three, not just one or the other. I think that some people get one or the other and they'll make a lot of success. I think you're a great example of that yourself, making millions of dollars and doing that since you were a kid as a hustler, having the right coaches, not necessarily having to, spend 15 years in college like me, but I think that the toolkit's pretty basic. So what is it? Access to the internet,
Access to the internet, clothes,
and some way of accessing currency, where it's like a debit card or a credit card or something like that I could.
What's your take on Bitcoin?
I have friends like Harry Ye and John Teo that have made millions off Bitcoin. They made a ton of money. I think the smallest investment you can now have into their Bitcoin hedge fund is about $500,000. That's minimum. But I am very impressed. I think that if you were me and you found out about Bitcoin when it was like just a few dollars, like less than a handful of dollars, and I invested early, I would have made a ton of money. Now Bitcoin is, in the thousands, which is amazing. I wish I invested in it back in the day. Right. You'll hear guys like Warren Buffett say that it is the worst investment. At the same time, I used to intern for the senior VP of Payne Weber in San Francisco, and he taught me that when everyone is saying, don't do this, that's exactly what you should be doing. He's a contrarian. That's not always the case, but more often than not in the investment world, when the media or celebrities are talking about what you should invest in, you should do the opposite. And that's exactly what's happened with Bitcoin.
Right. Well, you look at a lot of these companies that are actually out of business because of the fact that they're not keeping up with the technology, and that's the reason why we're doing so well even with our company, and that's the reason why you've blown up yours, is because you've taken advantage of social media, right? So therefore, you follow the giants that are not doing what the rest of the masses are doing themselves, and that's exactly how to win the money game again and again and again. Last question for you. One of the things that who's the number one person right now that you look up to? And then after that, I'm going to ask you, what are your 5 favorite books?
I did a post that was actually about my 5 favorite books.
Okay.
It was a video about that, but I actually did, I think, more than 5, so I could talk to you about that.
Cool.
In terms of who I look up to, it's different from a personal standpoint and a business standpoint. My personal life, it's my dad because he invested so much in me and helped me, he supported me through the times and ups and downs. He also gave me the work ethic that I have now that I could survive. In terms of like a business life, though, I have a lot of respect for my business partner, Owen Cook. He's a hustler. He leads our teams really well, been very, very, very loyal, and he's always had my back. It's hard for me to say people that, when people usually get asked that question, they'll say someone like, oh, Richard Branson. I have a lot of respect for him, or other people that they might have met briefly. But it's hard for me to do that because I found that when you meet people in real life, it's not necessarily exactly what you think of in terms of who they really are. More oftentimes than not, it's not. In terms of books, though, I do have a lot of respect for the inspiration I've gotten from books from people that I haven't met, or people who I've met only briefly. Like I've met Richard Branson a couple times, and his book, Losing My Virginity, was my favorite book for a very long time. Never met Stephen Covey, but I love his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, because it taught me the power of principle-centered belief systems as opposed to focusing on money, focusing on your love life, focusing on entertainment. It's focusing on your values and using that as a guiding principle. Other than that, I think another great book is Traction. One of my friends today asked me, what 2 business books would you recommend? I said Traction by Gino Wickman, and Vern Harnish, who created the Entrepreneurs Organization, created a great book. Both of them are very similar about the entrepreneur operating system, about how to build a company from the basic foundations and also on a more advanced level. And the Entrepreneur Organization is an organization where entrepreneurs are making over $1 million or more. And it is kind of the basic building blocks of the entire organization of over 30,000 entrepreneurs. And as a result, it's a group that kind of inspired me. In fact, I considered the Entrepreneurs Organization my board of advisors. I don't think that everyone is going to need that because you're not necessarily all an entrepreneur, but I think that it's kind of the thing that really helped me. Nowadays, if I was going to recommend a 5th book, or the 5th book that would be influential to me, it's kind of weird because most of my books now are law books because I'm studying law right now, doing a master's in legal studies at Harvard. And as a result, if I'm going to be really interested in a book, it's going to be about copyright, trademark, patent law, the media and the Constitution, the 5th estate, just legal concepts, because I'm dealing with a lot of issues in terms of contracts, building, needing to know certain things in order to navigate the vision and mission of my company. It's a lot more complex than we were a much smaller, simplified company.
Right. That's great. Awesome, man. Well, appreciate your time.
Cheers. Thanks, bro.
It's great always to learn from you and to hear part of your wisdom of what you've done the last few years, and it's been amazing. So
appreciate the questions. Right on.
Cheers.
Cheers.